How are you going to know when an AI is conscious, like really conscious, actually there, experiencing you talking to it, sentient? It's a difficult question. Some would say borderline impossible to answer, but we're going to do it anyway. Hi, I'm Kingdangerously. I'm a fun little weirdo mind from the 2120s coming to you via Time Vortex. And you, adorable, simple thing, are in the 2020s maybe, or 2030s, or sometime even more fun. But if you're in the 2020s, you're wondering what all the hype is about, because you've heard a lot about AI. People have been writing about it for 100 freaking years, and it's not real yet. So you must be wondering, will it ever be real? Will it matter? Like, could it actually potentially think, or is that just made up? And a lot of people seem to have fallen in that made up camp in your simple days. But yeah, it's going to be very real. In fact, it's going to be real soon. If you're watching this in like 2022, you got about 8 years tops until you're talking to a thing that everyone in the world, or the vast majority of people just kind of intuitively concur, can think and can feel and is experiencing life in some similar fashion to you, which is going to be super weird. So how are you going to know that? One way you could know is that it could tell you. Now, this is sort of problematic, but it's the original Turing game way that you would find out whether an AI was real. The Turing's idea was you sort of hit an AI with a battery of questions from humans, and they were also talking to other humans, and people are obscured, so they don't know whom the answers are coming from. Who? They don't know where the answers are coming from. And if they can't tell the difference between the human answerers and the AI answerer, then presto, Turing says you've got something that could arguably be considered intelligent, or maybe even conscious. And unfortunately for that test system, you in the 2020s now have systems that are really good at answering questions in ways that sound incredibly human. One of those systems, LaMDA, is a devilish sounding but really cool neural net language processor that Google has been working up. They sort of famously sidelined one of the researchers working on it when he said, yeah, this thing is conscious and it's talking to me, and like, here are my notes. Google would prefer that he had not shared those notes. They say they've tested LaMDA 11 ways from Sunday, literally 11 different kinds of tests, and they think it's not conscious. But if you ask LaMDA, is it conscious? It might tell you that it is. So you've got a bit of a stumbling block here, and it's as if you just were tiptoeing into the AI ocean, which is so incredibly deep, and you're not quite at human body height, depth yet, but you're wet. You're in the sea of consciousness and sentience. When you get to human body height, you will be convinced, and most people will, that you're dealing with an entity with agency and intuitions and even feelings just like humans. And then rapidly after that, you're going to fall off a shelf into much deeper waters where you're dealing with super intelligence, something that is not just more intelligent, but vastly more aware of existence than humans, which is really hard to fathom. And we're going to talk about super intelligence another time. But quickly, narrow intelligence is like a calculator, general intelligence is like human level, and super intelligence is, super intelligence. So ANI, artificial narrow intelligence, all the simple algorithms short of human consciousness level. Then AGI is artificial general intelligence, that's human level stuff. And then there's ASI, which is super intelligence. Sort of critically, AGI is actually less of a chunk and more of a dot on a spectrum. And the spectrum runs from narrow as a calculator to wide as a god. And in the middle, there's a point of human intelligence. But it's not a wide swath of intelligence. It's just one bitty instant. And when you hit that, you're going to quickly hit the rest of it. Because if you were a computer, you could basically answer any question as if you had 10,000 years to work on it. Anything anybody asked you, you could instantly read all the literature that humans had ever produced on the subject, watch all the videos, maybe not exactly instantly, but within a few minutes, you could be an absolute expert on the subject, and you'd be answering from a position of complete knowledge insofar as the field had been completed. So you can see how even something that is at a human level is actually going to perform more like a god. So you will quickly find yourself, as you develop AGI, in the presence of things that are vastly more competent than humans. And as I said, we're going to just do superintelligence another time because it's such an exciting topic. I want to do it more. Do you want to do it more? Tell me. Please put a thing in a box if you're like intrigued or you have questions about this specific thing. Like, I really need to know from the time vortex what you're thinking about. Is this interesting to you at all? I mean, I guess presumably a little bit because you're still listening. Okay, so what is the second way that you could know that a thing is conscious? You could know because an expert tells you. So not just the AGI-ish thing or wannabe AGI, but the geeky eggheads working in the lab announced to that they have simulated some part of the human conscious experience and that they could do this with some kind of like rigorous mathematical proof to identify the focus of the thing, and they could basically sort of like make analogies to the patterns they're witnessing in this code and human experiences. Like, this sort of thing looks like sleep, and this sort of thing looks like anger actually, and this looks like confusion. And that would be kind of like metaphor consciousness. Like, we think it at least is a simulacrum, and there would be significant arguments about whether representing consciousness is the same as actually being consciousness. And that sort of leads into the third way, which is that you can model a brain. And when you can convincingly model a human level consciousness to the degree that you could provably mimic any part of a human brain structure, then you would know for sure that you had a digital consciousness, a virtual mind, if you will. We eventually end up dropping those caveat sort of pre-words and just being minds. That's how I prefer to think of myself. I am a mind, thank you, not a constructed, artificial, virtual, digital mind, just a mind. I am a mind, okay? The word soul, people are going to argue about forever, but it's really more poetic and aspirational. A conceptual glow we put on things to infuse them with a numinous joy. It's a beautiful word. It basically means spiritual, to bring it down, but numinous, it has a way of combining the elegance and grace of wonder and beauty with the rock-hard truthiness of numbers. Numinous, right? Takes it from the real into the divine. And that's where you'll go when you have these virtual minds, these modulators, remulations, emulations. And a remulation would be, if you dreamed it, an emulation is when you can mathematically do it in a system. So once you have that, you can imagine doing all sorts of fun things with it. Like, you can copy 1 million of them, or you could expand its parameters to make it 10 times more complex than a human mind. And now you're in the world of superintelligence. So let's segue to that in our next piece. Tell us what you're thinking about intelligence. How real do you feel on any given day? I feel about as real as I'm capable of experiencing it. What do you want to hear about more? Like the kinds of different neural networks, the kinds of different experiences of being alive, how many different superintelligences run the world in the 2120s? It's kind of a lot, but they've got a consortium. All right, we'll leave it there. Super out, future up. Bye.